Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, we find out what would our round one draft look like if we drafted right now. It's time for Garbage Time. Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Ron Seymour, joined today, as always, by Joseph McCann. How you doing today, Joe?
What's going on tonight, Ron? We have the Super Bowl going on this week. For some reason, we're doing a first-round mock draft tonight, which will be fucking hilarious, I think.
Yeah, I
think fucking early draft.
Way too early. I just, I want to see how things progress throughout the offseason. You know what I mean? So It'll be nice to have this to go back and look at and see how things move depending on, free agency and draft and everything.
Yep. I've also got a DFS lineup for the Super Bowl this weekend too.
Ooh.
A captain lineup. So that'll be a little bit interesting. We can get into that too.
Let's, first off, who's winning?
I'm going to say the Rams are going to win, but on a money line.
Yeah. I like the Rams also. It would be nice for Matt Stafford, I think. You
mean after being in purgatory?
Yeah. After being
10 years.
It'll be good for him. All right. So do you want to jump right into the news?
Yeah, but before we do that, why don't you tell them where the frick we can be heard and seen?
Well, we can be seen in one spot, and that's right here on YouTube at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. You can go follow us on Twitch at garbage_time FF. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all your podcasting places.
Tunein, Iheartradio.
Yeah. You can go to our website, www.garbagetimeff.com, and leave us voicemails or hate mails.
All the hate mails, please.
All the hate mails. I love it. Yell at me. All right. Let's get into the news.
News updates.
All right, so first little bit of news that I saw today was Robert Woods is expected to make a full recovery for the Rams by spring. What are your thoughts for him going forward with the Rams? Are they going to move on from him? Are they going to bring him back in full terms? What's his future stake in the league and for fantasy football?
I mean, I think the Rams are going to try to keep as many people as they can, but that's going to be difficult. I'm sure if they could find someone that would trade for him and they can keep Odell Beckham, they would try to get anything they can for Robert Woods and then maybe sign Odell to a team-friendly deal.
Now, but here's the real question. What could you potentially get for Robert Woods with other potential options being out there, potentially like Calvin Ridley or Amari Cooper?
Well, there's no guarantee that Amari Cooper is going to be out there, and there's no guarantee that Calvin Ridley is out there either. So, I mean,
I think the more likely of the two to be available for trade or free agency this year will be Amari Cooper, strictly based on Dallas's cap situation. There's a rumor actually floating out there that they may actually release him and DeMarcus Ware. So that's pretty interesting to begin with. So if a team comes along and wants to take on that $20 million salary cap, it might not cost them that much to actually pry Amari Cooper away from them. Maybe a fourth-round pick or something along those lines. Do you think that's? I
think it'd be more than a fourth rounder for Amari Cooper.
Not for a $20 million cap hit. I don't think.
Yeah, I still think it would be.
Would you rather have though, him or Robert Woods? Maybe at a lower price.
Probably Robert Woods. Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver, but he disappears a lot in games. Like, he'll just have multiple games where he just, can't get open, or I don't know what the issue is, but Robert Woods, I think, has always been very solid, very consistent. And like you said, you could probably get Robert Woods for cheaper.
That actually would be a pretty interesting option there for the Cowboys, and would be good for fantasy football too. Should they let go of Amari Cooper in one facet or another, whether that be trade or cutting him, is replacing him with Robert Woods, who I think would be ultimately cheaper. And give him a similar stat line, I think, too. He's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
Next little bit of news we have this week, too, is the coaching tree finally got rounded out. What is your thoughts of the Texans hiring Lovie Smith. What's that going to do with that quarterback situation there? Are they going to run it out with General Mills, or are they going to go a different direction, do you think?
God, I still think they should just make it work with Deshaun Watson. But, I mean, I don't know if Lovie Smith is the hire that's going to help the whole Deshaun Watson thing. But I do not see Deshaun Watson missing another year of football under his own power.
Well, when we were on this show last week, you were convinced he was coming back.
I thought for sure they were. Well, I thought for sure they were going to sign Brian Flores, but I don't know if they didn't because of all the stuff Flores is doing, which would be stupid on the Texans' part. Brian Flores is a great coach; he should have a job.
Yeah, I agree.
And I 100% believe he should have a job. But I know Deshaun Watson has always wanted some sort of say in who was coming in. You know, he was always advocating for more minority head coaches and such. So I don't know.
Well, maybe he does end up liking this coach. I'm not quite sure what his relationship is with Lovie Smith. Obviously, Lovie Smith, I wouldn't say did horrible with the Bears. He had a pretty good standing there for quite a while. He's a good veteran coach. He's more of a defensive-minded coach. Really don't know what this is going to do for the situation. My gut is telling me that they're going to go with Davis Mills again this year, and I think they'll try to bring in some weapons to see if he can actually do some things, and then they'll draft someone else in the upcoming years because there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks in this upcoming season, and you could only see probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks going in the first round this year.
Yeah, and I think Davis Mills played well enough for that chance. I mean, and it wasn't like it was a small sample size. He played all year.
Mm-hmm.
He got progressively better all year. Like you said, bring this guy in some weapons. Get him a running back. You know what I mean? Someone like a good running back that can really take off some of the pressure from him, you know, establish that run game.
Yeah, you made an interesting move in our Dynasty League, which was dropping Rex Burkhead, who is going to be the only running back on the Texans roster currently. I don't know. I would have held on to him longer. I don't know what you were thinking there.
No, I don't need him.
Even on a dynasty team where you're deep, you've got other plans?
No. Yeah.
You must have something in mind then. All right, on that little side note here, Braxton Berrios is expected to ask for $9 million per year for a slot receiver. Could he be fantasy relevant anywhere else? And is this way too much damn money for Braxton Berrios?
Yeah, I don't know what Braxton Berrios is doing. He has, 3 good games on his entire career, and he thinks he deserves better money. I don't know.
I think he's proven that he could be a viable weapon for teams. He's more of a gadget player at this point. I know people hate that term. He's a good returner, which gives you a little bit of money there. But for fantasy football impact, I think his best move would be to stay with the Jets.
That's what I think.
Potentially as their 3rd or 4th wide receiver.
Yeah, maybe even 2nd. I mean, they've got Elijah Moore. Jamison Crowder's getting older.
He's gone this year. He's going to free agency.
He's going free agency. So, I mean, Corey Davis didn't really pan out.
As of yet.
So Braxton Berrios could be the 2nd wide receiver on that team, or he could be the 4th if they draft another one. And
my gut's that they're going to either use the 10th pick on one, specifically like the kid from Arkansas, or they're going to go out and get a decently cheap option. Maybe let's see who's out there. Mike Williams, I think, would be a pretty good option out there, and there's a few other guys too.
Give Zach Wilson a big body to throw to. That's what they need to do. They already have their quick guy with Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I think they should really target the tight end position a little bit more. But, that kid out of Arkansas is what I really want at the 10th spot. So we'll see how that pans out and if I fall in love with someone else as the weeks come on, too.
Yeah.
All right. A nice little bit of news is, what do you think about this rumor that Gronk is interested in going to play for the Bengals next year if Brady stays retired? He came right out and said it. He said he would play for Joe Burrow.
Gronk wants to win.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't he want to go play for Joe Burrow? They're in the Super Bowl this year. They're obviously, I mean, the nucleus of their team is set for like 3 years with their wide receivers, their quarterback. They're going to go out and they're going to bolster the offensive line. Why would he not want to go play for them?
Okay.
And honestly,
who currently plays tight end for them?
CJ Uzama.
And he's a free agent this year, correct?
I don't know.
I believe he is, and that could potentially open up a spot for him. Or you could run two tight end sets should they bring him back.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it'd be a good move.
Gronk is a good security catcher. He catches. He's not fast. Mm-hmm. He's not going to kill someone with his speed, but he's going to outmuscle anybody.
What's his fantasy prospect? Should he go to Cincinnati with a similar team next year?
I don't, unless there's injuries, probably not that great. There's so many mouths in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase is going to be the first read. Then you got T. Higgins. I think Tyler Boyd is still under contract with him too. Mm-hmm. Joe Mixon, there's a lot there. But it'd be great for Joe Burrow.
Here's some potential cold take.
Mark it down, JJ.
Yeah, some cold take film for JJ here that he can look up. Should he go to Cincinnati, I bet you Gronk finishes as a top 5 tight end next year. Right on the cusp, right at 5. He's not going to be the top tight end. There's a few above him, but I bet you he could be a top 5 tight end.
I could go with top 10. I don't know if I could say top. I don't think I could go with 5.
No, I hope he ends up going to Cincinnati so I can be proven right.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be on the cold take video next year.
Well, if you're proven right, it won't be on the cold take.
Ooh, okay. Any other thoughts that you have on this?
Nope.
Okay. Our next little bit of news, too, is more rumors because it's the offseason. Rodgers bought some land in Tennessee. They were calling it raw land, and he was also being a troll out on a golf course, and a fan was heckling him. It was in Denver, and he said, Rodgers, what would you do in Denver next year? And he says, well, let's wait and see, and let's find out. So what's your thoughts on Rodgers? Where could he potentially go? What would he look like in the Titans offense? And what would he look like in the Denver offense?
So first off, this was Aaron Rodgers, who's not in the playoffs anymore, not in the Super Bowl. So he's not getting media attention. Oh, so he's doing whatever he can to get media attention? Yeah, yes. That's Rodgers. If he goes to the Broncos, I'm going to instant Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah. What about Titans, Tennessee, though?
The Titans, probably. I mean, they were already the number 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill. I don't think the Titans go for him.
I kind of think they do, underhandedly. They're saying they wouldn't right now, but you don't buy property just for no reason. Yes, it's a good vacation spot, but you're telling me that's not in the back of his mind thinking about playing with Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown there? That's a good freaking tandem right there with Aaron Rodgers.
But they have a better overall team in Denver. Offensive line, wide receivers are great.
I would argue that they got better weapons there. And on top of that, you have the Yeti. That outdoes everything.
Yeah, but the Yeti, he's got his injury now. I know he came back, but he's 28. He got injured. The Yeti could fall off fast. People seem to forget that sometimes when these bigger running backs fall off, it's not slow. Look at Todd Gurley.
Yeah, well, we've seen he's kind of superhuman, and I don't see him falling off the cliff at least for another 2 years. And we saw in that playoff game, he looked fine. I think he's going to be in for at least another 2 years.
Right. I'm not saying he's going to fall off. I'm just saying he could fall off.
You don't want to make that cold take right now?
No. That's a stupid cold take.
All right, we'll move on to our next little bit of news, too. Falcons owner Arthur Blank said he would also love to keep Calvin Ridley on his team. Is this going to throw cold water on trade rumors this offseason, or are they going to?
No, he also said that he pretty much said he's willing to do whatever Calvin Ridley wants to do. If Calvin Ridley feels like he needs a new start somewhere else, that he's going to trade him. He's not going to hold him there just because. He already said, I actually read a lot of the article or whatever that was put out about it. And he said, obviously we'd love to have him here, but if he feels like he needs a fresh start somewhere else, then we're going to grant him a fresh start somewhere else.
What are your thoughts on it then? Do you actually think he's going to end up being traded?
I'm waiting to hear from Calvin Ridley. The dude went away from football and has been radio silent since. And it's does he even come back?
I do believe he'll come back. My gut's telling me it'll be with a different team then. I'm not sure where it'll be. I wouldn't mind him on the Jets. I think it'd be a good fit. But there's 30 other teams in the league that would like Calvin Ridley. So I think he's going to have his choice of suitors. I think they'll get pretty decent compensation for him. And I think he's going to move on, and both teams will be happy there. They'll get some more pieces, fill some prominent spots there, and it'll be what it is. I think it'll be a happy ending for both teams at the end, ultimately. What's your thoughts on this social media blackout by Kyler Murray? What the hell is going on there? Do you think it has anything to do with rumors that Christian Kirk might not want to resign there, and he's saying he doesn't want to be there if Christian Kirk doesn't want to sign?
I think it is money related, but I think it's more of Kyler Murray money related. You see players do this all the time. It gets close to contract and they're like, oh, look at me. I'm unfollowing you. I'm not afraid to leave. Like, it's just it's positioning. That's all it is. That's all it is. He's trying to gain the upper hand against the organization.
I completely agree with you. He's posturing, and I think we're going to see him in an Arizona Cardinals uniform for 10 plus years.
Yeah. The Cardinals would be stupid to let him go.
And the last little bit of news I have here, too, it is believed to be rumored that Lamar Jackson is going to get his extension before training camp starts this year. Do you think it's ultimately going to happen?
Yeah. Again, he's too electric. Like, you don't let people that are that electric walk away from your team if you're a smart team owner.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any other news you want to share with the Heckling Fandom tonight?
Nope.
Okay. Let's do the lightning round then.
Oh, man, that's where the fuck is the lightning round?
Fifth one down. Did he
there
find it? Oh. All right, guys. This is the last DFS Draft Kings lineup of the year. Ron, do you have one tonight, or are we just rolling with mine?
Just roll with yours.
All right. So this being, because there's only one game left for the entire season, is a captain position. And I'm going with Mr. Captain Cooper Kupp for my first position. This is a 6-player lineup at 50,000. In the captain spot, Cooper Kupp costs you 17,400. I think he could have a big game. And remember, it's Eli Apple covering him, so he's bound to give up about 200 yards. So I'm going with Cooper Kupp in this game, 17,400 as the most expensive captain actually for fantasy football this week. Next, I'm going with Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be playing behind in this game and trying to play catch up, so there's a lot of potential for yards and touchdowns for him, 10,600. Next, I'm going with his number one weapon, Jamar Chase, 10,400. I believe he's the number one wide receiver there. I'm pretty sure, right, Ron? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go with Jamar Chase, 10,400. I think he's going to have a very good game. Next, I'm going with Mr. Automatic kicker, Evan McPherson, who is one. He has been clutch for the Bengals, and I think he's going to continue to be clutch for them in the Super Bowl.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, really. He's looked good. Next flex, I'm taking another kicker because I think they're going to be prevalent in this game. Matt Gay, 3,800, Rams kicker. He kicked them into the Super Bowl, so I think he could also have a potentially good game. Hedging my bets here that the kickers will be heavily involved in this, and you need to go cheaper. And my flex is the Rams defense because they're going to smack the shit out of Joe Burrow in this game. They may break the Super Bowl record on sacks.
Yeah, I think that's the reason the Bengals are going to lose. That offensive line is not great, and the Rams pass rush is nasty.
I completely agree with that. I do think they will keep it close, though. And if you guys happen to be gambling in New York, where it is now legal, I would strongly suggest taking the bet on FanDuel, which is there being a return during the Super Bowl. That bet is hit 18 out of the last 20 times. So that's 9 out of a 10 chance of that hitting. And it is actually, you would actually win money on top of it as a straight bet too. So it is an easy bet to make. So look at that on FanDuel and DraftKings. 9 out of 10 chances to hit, especially if it's going to the Rams. I believe it's going to be returned.
All righty. Not bad. Let's go ahead and we'll get into this early first round mock draft.
So what's the big fucking deal? What the fuck are we doing out here? So what's the big fucking deal? What the fuck are we doing out here?
Ron, you didn't say it right. It's what the fuck are we doing out here? Because it's a way too fucking early mock draft.
What the fuck are we doing out here? This is just called throwing out content. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go 1 through 10. We're going to act like we're picking at each spot.
You suck. I did 1 through 12, and we should do it 1,
All right.
1, 2, 2.
I also did 1 through 12.
Okay,
and that's what we're doing.
You'll give your one, and then
yeah, that's what we're doing. Yep, we're gonna go through everything, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume that both of our number ones are exactly the same.
We'll see.
Being Jonathan Taylor. If you
Mine's Derrick Henry.
Oh, you did go Derrick Henry. I can't argue with it. If 101, I mean, Derrick Henry's been a beast every year. I mean,
I'm going with old consistency here. He's 28. Yes, I understand he's at that age where running backs start to decline, but he's coming back from an injury. He looked good during the playoffs, and he was by far the best player in fantasy football last year until the injury, miles ahead of everyone, even in front of potential league MVP candidate Jonathan Taylor this year.
Yep.
And there wasn't anyone even close. He was on a record-breaking pace, so I'm still going to go with Derrick Henry.
I mean, he was
number one.
I think he finished the year still in the top 10 for rushing yards, if that says anything. So
it didn't play a fourth of the year.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm going to assume you have Jonathan Taylor number 2 then.
What's your argument, though, with the two? Why would you put Jonathan Taylor above Derrick Henry?
Just age. He is more involved in the passing game. The injury. Just Jonathan Taylor, I think, has more receiving upside and less chance of a potential drop off is all. I have Derrick Henry at 102.
Henry, because he's
Henry. I have Derrick Henry at 102.
Southern boy Derrick Henry.
So, I mean, it's not like I have him very far down, and if anybody wants to take Derrick Henry at 101, then I'm fine with it. Like, it's not.
Yeah. And not only that, I would keep Derrick Henry at number 1, too. Should Aaron Rodgers go there? Because guess what? They're not going to stack the box as much if you got Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball there.
Honestly, if Aaron Rodgers went there, I might bump him up to 101. Like,
just keep that in mind, Heckling Fandom, when you're selecting next year.
So was I right? 102 is Jonathan Taylor for you?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's my number 2. I really threw cold water on him last year. I was dead wrong.
What?
I cold ass water on him. I said he wasn't even cold take. I said he wasn't even going to be the starter for the Colts last year. I said he was going to be in a committee. I was dead ass wrong. So I'm eating my crow here. Jonathan Taylor is my number 2 player I would draft this early. We'll have many more mock drafts after free agency in the draft. Jonathan Taylor is my number 2 player that I would currently take in fantasy football.
Very nice. Like I said, we already talked about mine as Derrick Henry. Why don't you go who we got at number 3?
My number 3 spot is going to Austin Eckler, who I think is an interesting pick here, and especially in PPR rankings, he gets a lot of rushing work and he gets a lot of passing work, and I can only see that continuing in the next year. I think the Chargers are going to look to have a balanced attack next year. Mike Williams could potentially leave, so they may bring in a younger player, potentially draft someone. So they're going to want to go to the guys that they know, and one of them is Austin Eckler. So look for him to get a giant workload next year. So I'm very comfortable putting Austin Eckler at my number 3 draft position for the way too fucking early mock draft.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's Austin Eckler's a phenomenal player. When I was making out my list, I sat down and I was thinking, and I'm like, all right, if I was in this position and these 2 people ahead of me were already gone and these are the players I'm looking at, who am I taking? And I couldn't move this guy down any further. I know he missed the last pretty much 2 years due to injury.
Of course.
But CMC is still, when he plays, he's a monster. So at the 103, I just couldn't. I couldn't drop him down any further. I'm like, points per game, he just outscores everybody when he actually plays. So I got to go CMC at my 103.
So I'm going to slightly criticize that pick here.
You go ahead and criticize all you want.
Sorry. The Southern draw is coming up with Derrick Henry with you. Henry. And you're saying criticize. Apparently I've got tobacco in my mouth. So Christian McCaffrey is a little bit further down on my list simply because of the injury. He's got the potential to be the number 1 fantasy player in the league, but the problem is he hasn't been healthy the last 2 years. And unless the Panthers actually get a quarterback, people are going to be stacking the box against him, and he's the only true weapon on that Panthers team. And I don't know what they're going to do at this point, so I want to see what the Panthers do first before I move him higher up on my list. I did this last year too. But he was a flop this year. If you took him in the first round, it was a bust. There's no answer around that, so he is moving further down my list. And that's my critique on putting him in number.
No, and I tried convincing myself that he didn't belong at 3, but like every time he's actually playing, he's still phenomenal. So it's like I can't.
Yeah, when he's playing, not 3 games though.
Right, but like you're sitting there at 103 and there's Christian McCaffrey. I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't think I would have. I'm going to say it right now. I don't think I have the balls right now if I'm at 103 and Christian McCaffrey's there to not take him. All right, so at my 104, I have Dalvin Cook. Another really electric player. This is one of the guys that might drop down a little bit more depending on if quarterback moves happen. Without Kirk Cousins there and seeing who the quarterback will be could greatly impact Dalvin Cook. Also an injury concern, never plays a full season. But again, when he's out there, just weak winning upside every time.
So I'm really going against my norm here with this 4th player. And the reason is this player came out of nowhere this last season, and none of us saw him doing what we potentially thought he could do. And he could have been looked at as a fantasy MVP this year and potentially a league MVP. I'm going with Cooper Kupp here at number 4.
Ooh, wide receiver at 4.
Absolutely incredible year.
From Joe McCann.
Yeah, it's an oddity for me to put a wide receiver this high. And I fell in love with what Cooper Kupp did this year. Regret I didn't draft him because he was one of the players I was targeting to play wide receiver 2, and he was well above a wide receiver 2 this year. So Cooper Kupp is my first wide receiver in this way too fucking early mock draft. And I think taking him at number 4 wouldn't be a stretch compared to this position. I think the running back position has a little bit more gray area this year than it has compared to other years, because there's a lot of other players doing more and playing more positions than there used to be. And Cooper Kupp is just an incredible talent, and I could see him doing exactly what he did this year, next year too. So Cooper Kupp is my number 4 player.
Yes, that's very good. Why don't you go ahead and jump right into your number 5?
All right, number 5, we're going with old Mr. Reliable on my fantasy football team. I'm going with Dalvin Cook here. Listen, he's been healthy the last 2 years for the most part. I would definitely cuff him with his backup running back because that shoulder always concerns me, and it may knock him out a week, but then he just puts the sling on and then he rushes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I'm going with Mr. Consistency here, Dalvin Cook. You can easily plug him in and feel comfortable with him as a first-round running back. And he could have winning weeks for you. And I believe with the new head coach that they brought in from the Rams, I believe, right? Maybe.
Well, no, I don't remember because you asked me.
Yeah, I believe he's from the Rams, the offensive coordinator of the Rams. I think that they could have a very heavy run approach anyway. Jefferson's there as a decent weapon too. That offense will still perform well. So Dalvin Cook, number 5 on my list.
All right, number 5 is where I have Austin Eckler. All the reasons you said. I have him a little bit lower because this was the first year that they actually utilized him as like a 3-down back.
Mm-hmm.
He actually was getting goal line carries, red zone carries. Every other year they've used someone else. I think they probably try to bring someone in to spell Austin Eckler a little bit to try to keep him healthy. So makes me a little worried, but still number 5 on my list. Even if he's in a timeshare, he's still going to be very consistent and very good.
And for a confirmation too, the new head coach of the Vikings is Kevin O'Connell, and he was a Sean McVay disciple. So that makes me even more comfortable with picking Dalvin Cook in that spot. And yes, I wish you put Austin Eckler a little bit higher, but I'm not going to argue with you putting him at position 5 here.
All right, so I'll jump into 6. You already took your first wide receiver. I'm going to take mine, but mine is Jamar Chase. I'm going to take the young, explosive wide receiver. I like Cooper Kupp, but the guy that finishes number 1 wide receiver hardly ever repeats as number 1 wide receiver. I think with a full year of game film, teams will be able to do a little bit better at slowing down Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods coming back. If they have Robert Woods, Odell Beckham, and Cooper Kupp, the ball's going to get spread around a lot more. I just feel like, I'm not saying he's going to drop super far, but he's probably still going to be top 5 wide receiver for Cooper Kupp. But I like Jamar Chase's chances of being the 101 over his.
What if I told you I didn't even put Jamar Chase in my top 10?
It's understandable.
Okay. I think you're a little bit high on him here. I mean, I kind of get where you're going with this. You saw the insane games that he had this year. But I think there's some much better, more consistent wide receivers out there that.
Well, what I'm shooting for is, sophomore year he's will be going into.
Yep.
Another full off season. Maybe has less of the explosive games, but more of the consistent games. So he's not going to be putting up, 203 touchdowns, but kind of like what Cooper Kupp did this year, where it was just like always 100 yards and a touchdown. Always.
He's borderline round 1 for me at this point. I want to see a little bit more. That may change after the Super Bowl. We'll see. But yeah, he's not even in my top 12. He was in the conversation for it, but he's not.
Right.
So with that, we're ready for my number 6, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right. I put Christian McCaffrey here because, yes, the talent is immense. Yes, he could even be the number 1 player in fantasy football, but the problem is that he hasn't been on the field for the last 2 years. He's borderline turning into a glass player, and I don't want him to be. So Christian McCaffrey, get healthy, play well next year, because I don't want to call you a bust.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Why don't you go with your 7?
Number 7 here, I have Najee Harris. So Najee Harris is one of those players that is potentially a top 2 player for fantasy football. But the reason why I've got him so low is I don't know what's going on with that quarterback position with the Steelers. The offensive line there is all right, but should they bring in a rookie, which I kind of have a gut feeling that they're going to end up doing, I don't like the outlook for him, because I believe they're going to stack the box and they're going to look at him as the number 1 weapon for that team. So you're going to be looking at 8-man boxes. Yes, he could be getting a lot of passing work there, but the rookie's going to stifle him a little bit. So I dropped Najee Harris just a little bit. The long-term outlook for Najee Harris, I think, is better than a lot of these players. Even he could have a better upside than even Dalvin Cook in the long term. But just for this year, should a young quarterback come in, and that's what my opinion is on it, it could be a little bit of a hard year for him. Now, if they bring in an Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, that's a whole different outlook. But I'm assuming that it's going to be a young quarterback playing one currently on the roster, or a rookie drafted in the first round, which is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it'll be a splashy name or anything. I think it'll be a younger guy. They're probably hoping for someone in the first round to drop to him, but we'll see what happens. Number 7, I have Joe Mixon. Again, just part of that amazing offense that can only get better. I think they spend a lot of money and draft capital on offensive line this offseason, and just make that offense even better than what it was this year.
I like Joe Mixon. Don't like him that high. Just for the simple reason about a point that you brought up here. There's a lot of weapons on that offense. Samaje Perine's also there. I don't think they're going to give him a more prominent role, but he will take passing work there. There's a lot of mouths to feed. I anticipate a lot of players are going to want to go there in the offseason too. A lot of cheap veteran kind of players. I think they're going to look to pass the ball around more. Not that Joe Mixon can't get that work, but they could turn that into a very pass-happy offense. So I'm going to drop Joe Mixon just a little bit here.
Yeah, I just think the scoring opportunities are there. I feel like he's a lock to get double-digit touchdowns. And you'll see these guys that get double-digit touchdowns easily make it into the top 10. So I think 7, that area is pretty close to where he'll finish.
We'll see.
Go
with your 8 then.
My 8 is Najee. For all the reasons you said. Like, he could easily have been up 2-3 area, but the offensive line really isn't that great. We have no idea what's going on with the quarterback. And those are two things that are really hard to have to address at the same time. So he just dropped down for me.
My number 8 is Devontae Adams. That's with or without Aaron Rodgers. I believe he's a good enough wide receiver to elevate the play of any quarterback he's with, whether that be a shitty Jordan Love, whether they trade him, or whether that is with Aaron Rodgers. So until proven otherwise, I think Devontae Adams is going to be my number 2 wide receiver going forward. There's guys that are very, very close to taking the spot, and I will get to that in this list too, specifically 2 guys. But currently at my number 8 spot is one of the best wide receivers in fantasy football ever, Devontae Adams.
He is not in my top 12.
That's interesting.
Number 9.
Explain that a little bit more. Why not?
I mean, I think he'll do fine with other quarterbacks, but I don't think he finishes inside the top 5 for wide receivers with just any quarterback.
I do. I believe he's going to be a possession monster because they're going to see what he did with Rodgers and go, all right, I'm going to try the same thing.
Yeah, but
my gut is he's going to be franchised by Green Bay, and then they're not going to let him go, and he's going to have to play out the year, but we'll see.
With Jordan Love, and I don't know if I care about 180 targets from Jordan Love because that's probably going to equate to maybe 96 catches. So I can't take that risk. It's first round. I try to eliminate as much risk as possible in the first round.
Okay.
My number 9 is Cooper Kupp. I still think he's going to finish top 5 easily. Could possibly be a back-to-back number 1 wide receiver on the year next year. But, I mean, taking him a little bit later is safer. Age, offense might evolve. Defenses might game plan him out a little bit more successfully next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I just dropped him down a little bit.
I think you're undervaluing him a little bit. I get what you're doing here, and he's slotted here. So that's all right.
Yeah.
My number 9 is a position I've neglected for years up until this year. Mr. Safe himself, and one that fucking knocked me out of the playoffs in the first round this year. I'm going with Travis Kelce at number 9 here. I don't think his age is going to drop him off yet. He's an absolute monster, the best tight end in the entire league, although I think Mark Andrews might have something to say about this year. I think he's going to continue playing well this year. I think those two will be 1A and 1B, but I think Travis Kelce at number 9 is not an awful option for people. And it's a safe pick. So Travis Kelce.
So number 9 is where you start your 0 RB.
Yeah, right here. But I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, it's you can't knock it. It's Travis Kelce. It's a positional advantage. Like you said, unless you're getting him, Andrews, and then maybe Kittle, maybe Waller, you're struggling every week and just hoping you're finding someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the positional advantage at 9. Go ahead and go right on to your 10.
My number 10 is Justin Jefferson. So initially you told us he was going to be disappointing this year and the people are going to draw away from him. That did not happen. I'll go ahead.
To be fair, I said that, he was being drafted really early in the second round, and I didn't think that he would, return that value.
Well,
I was still wrong.
He returned great value. Not initially in the beginning of the season, too, and then he just was a fucking rocket.
It was right after I traded for him that he fucking just shot off. Yeah. Which was the key to my entire season in our winner league.
It just tells you
trading people.
Yeah. It just tells you the consistency and the high level of play coming from the wide receiver position that he's my number 3 wide receiver and he's in the top 10, which I am very running back dominant usually. So Justin Jefferson is my number 10 pick. He is going to be hyper targeted this year, I believe, by Kirk Cousins again and by his new offensive minded head coach. So look for him to do what he did the first 2 years of his career, more so in the second year. Justin Jefferson at number 10.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm not going to discourage him at all. My number 10 is another player that a lot of question marks around him. Probably won't end up being in my top 10 very much longer. But Alvin Kamara, the talent is there, but like, and this was one where I'm like, would I really draft him here? Would I? And it was hard, but the talent, and they're not going to have anybody else. But we'll see what happens with the
5-year prison
legal issues. But so he might drop pretty far, depending.
He's going to end up, I think, on the commissioner's exempt list this year. It looks absolutely awful.
Well, then I put Justin Jefferson here.
Oh my God, I think Alvin Kamara is completely off my draft board. I wouldn't even touch him if there's still a question of whether he plays or not.
Yeah, like I said, this is part of the thing. Like I want to.
I would need to evaluate this for the next 4 to 5 months, up to the minute, for me to even consider taking him here.
Yeah, that's one reason I wanted to do this, is because like to see how much these things change throughout the year, because he gets completely cleared, right? He's going to shoot up.
Seems unlikely. We'll see.
It seems unlikely, but I'm just saying, like, if he got completely clear, he would shoot up because only
that guy looked messed up in those photos. It does not look good for him. Oof. We'll see.
Did you already do your 10?
My 10th was Justin Jefferson.
Okay, so we'll move on.
Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara will be moving quite a bit down that list, I think, by the end of summer.
My number 11 is Cam Akers.
Okay.
I think they're going to feature him big time next year. You've already seen it in the playoffs. Like, he came back that first week, they managed him. And then after that, it's like Sony Michel barely existed. Like, it's been really heavy on Cam Akers throughout these playoffs. And I feel like Sony Michel might not be there next year.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have Darrell Henderson, but Cam Akers is the guy they want running this ball. He's the most electric out of the three of them, and you've seen it in the playoffs. If I could get him at the end of the first round, he has potential and the ability to be one of the top 3 running backs of the year.
I would go as far to say as Henderson, I don't even think will be fantasy relevant next year, because they gave up draft capital for the guy they traded for. Henderson could very well be the 3rd running back on that team.
Yeah.
I don't even know, what is his current status? Is he a free agent going into this year, or is he still going to be under contract?
I don't know with Henderson.
Yeah, maybe we should look that up when we're going over our last 2 players, and we'll give the Heckling Fandom a little bit clearer picture on that. But my gut is Henderson may not even be relevant next year. I guess we'll see. But my number 11 player here is, I went with a hybrid, another wide receiver, Deebo Samuel. This one scares me a little bit. Deebo Samuel has got some injury history. Doesn't always stay healthy, but he was an absolute animal this year and carried the 49ers on his back into the playoffs. And they figured out, they're like, fuck, he's a pretty good running back too. So they decided to throw him as a hybrid running back on that team too. And I don't see why they don't do that again next year too, because he showed that he can stay active with that kind of a role. He kind of was getting banged up by the playoffs, but listen, he's their best weapon. They want to get the ball in his hand, and they're going to do that in a perpetuity of ways. Whether that be rushing the ball, whether that be throwing it to him or getting him in with a trick play. I think Deebo Samuel is going to be very fantasy relevant this year. And he initially was my number 12 player, but the player behind him that I put back at 12 is a little bit more vanilla. I'm more excited about Deebo Samuel, so he's going in at number 11.
So Darrell Henderson is under contract till 2023. Just wanted to throw that out there.
That's their 3rd running back next year. Because Sony Michel's going to be the 2nd.
Now to Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Love Deebo.
Yes.
Helped my playoff team crazy this year.
I seemingly drafted every single 49ers player except Deebo Samuel. So
yeah,
it worked out great for me.
And then I got Deebo for $2.
Bastard.
I have a few worries about Deebo. One, Trey Lance is going to be the starter, so some of his rushing yards will probably come down, or rushing attempts, I should say at least. Rushing touchdown number will probably come down. 8 rushing touchdowns for a wide receiver is wild. I'm not saying that he's not going to have any, but wouldn't shock me for that number to be more like 4 or 5 next year, because Trey Lance, they'll probably do some read options, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if they give Deebo the Cordero Patterson thing where he can be running back or wide receiver, he will probably jump up quite a bit into my top 10.
That potential is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. So where I don't have him in my top 12, all it would take is for me is to see that little running back wide receiver designation next to his name in these things. And he'd probably jump up to way too high in my top 10. Like 4.
He's going to be a 4 by the end of the summer. You're going to believe the hype.
Oh my God, I probably will. I mean, I love Deebo. The stuff he did for my fantasy football team this year.
Still didn't come away with hardware, though.
Oh, man. I did everything in my power. Listen, I started 0-4, all right? I did everything in my power between trades and made it to the playoffs, and I think it's a successful season. It just goes to show you that you definitely don't win your league at the draft.
Anyway, continue with your player.
All right, so we're on to my number 12, I think.
Who was your 11?
Akers.
Yeah, so your last one.
My number 12 is probably one of the best pure rushers in football right now. Had quite the down year, missed quite a few games, but the team he's on wants to run the ball. Their quarterback makes them have to run the ball because he ain't doing anything. Who is my player?
Was he injured this year?
Nope.
Just give me the name.
Nick Chubb.
Oh, God, no.
What do you mean, oh, God, no?
No.
What do you mean, no?
No, just no. He's
no,
not
I want to
be
why?
Well, because they're potentially going to be shaking that team up this year. Kareem Hunt's going to be back, and I just don't think he's going to be in the top 12. I would take him in the second round, but he's just not a first-round talent this year.
That's going to be like your Jonathan Taylor cold take next year.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, the cold take that I would take him in the second instead of the first. No, the rest of these players are just as talented as him, if not more. So no.
Yeah, they're going to really focus on that. I think you'll see this team run the ball more than any other team in the NFL, including the Titans.
Who's their starting quarterback going to be?
Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
And that's why they're going to run the ball more than any other team in the NFL.
That could add potential high injury risk to Nick Chubb if they rush it.
You're gonna have 300 rushes from him and Kareem Hunt. I might as well put Kareem Hunt at number 13.
Oh my God.
Who's your number 12?
I think Kareem Hunt could be highly undervalued this year, though, too, and he could be someone I target in drafts too, because you might be able to get him cheap.
Kareem Hunt is one of the best people to draft if you're doing like a 0 RB.
Yeah, he is.
Because you could probably get him in like the 4th, 5th round, and he could be a starter.
My number 12 is appearing in the Super Bowl this weekend. It's Joe Mixon. Listen, he's not flashy, he's not exciting, but he's a consistent running back, and he's a running back one for next year on a very talented team. I put him a little bit lower on this list because there's a lot of weapons on this team. I believe they ultimately want to make this a pass-happy offense with Joe Burrow because he's a very talented passer. But regardless, you need a running back. He's a good running back, so Joe Mixon is my number 12. Who got scrubbed from your list? Who was close? I've got a few here I wanted to list.
Deebo was there. I've seen a lot of people have DeAndre Swift up there. He
was close on mine, but he didn't.
I wouldn't trust the Lions offense in round 1. That's one thing I was really looking at is like offenses when I was doing my list. Only a few exceptions. Najee Harris, obviously.
That one surprised me. He didn't scrub that he wasn't on your list.
That he was on my list.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's again?
He was number 8.
Okay, all right.
But like the volume's there, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why he gets in. But I think this upcoming draft, I'm definitely going to try to focus on drafting people who are on good offenses and not take a shot on players like DeAndre Swift,
or Antonio Gibson.
Or Antonio Gibson.
Such a disappointment.
Yeah.
And he is being rated in, dude, I cannot get over the Fantasy Pros rankings where they had him, I believe, 13th. How the fuck is he 13th? No way. No freaking way. Oh, God, that offense is awful, and he wasn't even the starter at some point. All right, so who was off my list here, too? Surprisingly, in either one of our lists, we didn't list a single quarterback, and I think Josh Allen deserves a little bit of discussion here. Heavy rushing upside, heavy passing upside. At the back end of the first round, you can't argue with it here. If it's a super flex league, you're obviously taking Josh Allen or Justin Herbert.
Oh, yeah, if this was super flex,
Different
it'd be
format.
different. Yeah.
Other ones I was considering, Javonte Williams, should they move on from other options and Aaron Rodgers be there? But listen, they have not yet, so I am not going to put him up to that stature yet.
That's another thing I saw is a lot of people have him really high, and it's like Melvin Gordon's still there. Yep. Like until he's not. If I knew Melvin Gordon was there, he'd probably be in my top 12.
Surprisingly, neither one of us listed Tyreek Hill either, and he crushed me this year again. Tyreek Hill is right on that border too.
Inconsistent. I don't like the inconsistencies.
Still kill you. I mean, on the opposing team, which sucks.
But the problem is he could kill.
I haven't yet.
The problem is he could kill you if you're playing against him, but he could also kill you if he's on your team. Yeah. I'd rather him kill me once per year rather than 5 times a year.
It's true. Also on my list is Jamar Chase. He was outside of my top 12. He's right on that border, probably 5 or 6 for wide receiver right now. And DeAndre Swift was potentially on my list here, but it's in the Lions offense, and I just don't like that. So
Jamar Chase, now you didn't put him in your top 12, which I understand, but like you're saying how this you put Joe Mixon so far down because you think this team is going to go even more pass heavy. And yet you don't think Jamar Chase will finish over like Deebo, who's in a run heavy offense, or Devontae Adams, who could be playing with Jordan Love.
Devontae Adams is a proven commodity and has been for the last 5 or 6 years as a possession
with Aaron
receiver.
Rodgers.
Yeah, I believe he can do it with anyone because he's a great wide receiver. And that's just my opinion.
I guess my question is, would you rather have 170 targets from Jordan Love or 140 targets from Joe Burrow?
Oh, Joe Burrow, no question. But the problem with that is, yeah, but you're talking about doing this consistently over a long period of time, and I understand what Jamar Chase did there, but there's more weapons there too. It's an offense that they're going to spread around a little bit here. I believe Jamar Chase is going to have better games than Adams a few weeks. But Adams will give you that consistency even with the Jordan Love, I think. So I would rather have the consistency there. Joe Mixon just gets the nod here because I value the running back position more than the wide receivers. I can find more value in the second round in the wide receiver position as opposed to the running back position. It's always more scarce, so that's why I dropped Jamar Chase here.
All right.
Not that I don't think that he couldn't work into the top 12. He's literally just outside it, maybe my top 15.
Okay. All right. Well, this was a fun little exercise. I had a good time.
Yeah, but I'm sure JJ will find some lovely material for us to find. And
well, that's why we got to do these shows.
God, I can't wait to see what he's got to say about it.
All right, Heckling Fandom. Remember to make your way over to our website, www.garbagetimef.com. Leave us a voicemail, hate mail. Leave us a review over there. Makes it real simple. You don't have to go anywhere else. Just go to that website. You can go over to Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Iheartradio.
Oh, he got it.
Tunein Radio. Anywhere you could find podcasts, that's where we are. Make sure right here on YouTube at Garbage Time Fantasy Football, you make sure you subscribe, you hit the bell so you know when we go live. We try to do most of our shows live so we can get some engagement from our wonderful Heckling Fandom. Make sure you go check out our sister podcast. Garbage Time presents the MMA Podcast. Been trying to put out more episodes of that recently. people having babies and not being able to do episodes. But hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more consistency here in the off season with that. And make sure you like and subscribe on all those previous places that I mentioned before.
And let me ask for a little bit of engagement for the Heckling Fandom too. Guys, drop your way too fucking early top 12s below in the comments here. And if we see any, we'll comment on them in the next episode, or get comment in the comments below. Give us your top 12 and leave your hate mail as to why ours are absolutely awful and why yours are the right one. We love the challenges, and maybe it'll lead to some apology bets with you. And I think with that, Ron, we're ready to get out of here, right?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
See you next time.